Hello, and welcome everybody. My name is Tom Lelio. I'm your ultimate jet guide, and today we're pulling back the curtain on private aviation. Whether you're a buyer or a broker, we help you buy and sell private jets with no experience necessary. And as a matter of fact, today we're going to be interviewing Kevin and Melanie, who are Jet Life Aero brokers, no experience, no prior experience, and today they had their very first closing. So congratulations to Kevin and Melanie. I'm going to show you guys. Congratulations to you guys. Awesome job. We're super excited. This is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. And I used to have a boss tell me like it only keeps getting better from here. And I would say the same to you guys because it's going to be an incredible journey. So welcome once again, to all of you that are joining us. If you're new to aviation, if you're looking to possibly buy a private jet, or maybe you're looking for a new career and you're looking about possibly selling private jets, whether you're buying or selling, we help you buy and sell private jets with no experience necessary. Go ahead and click the like button and subscribe to the channel if that's you and you want to learn a little bit more. So without further ado, Melanie and Kevin, welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
So good to have you. I'm very excited for you guys. It was an exciting morning this morning when I saw the email from escrow. Hey, we got all the paperwork. We're moving to closing, and I just was super excited for you guys. So before we get into your actual deal, why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little about. I'll let Melanie go first. Ladies first. Just kind of introduce yourself, and as much as you want to tell us, a little bit about your background. How long you've been with Jet Life Aero. What made you get into aviation, and just a little bit about yourself. So why don't you go ahead, Melanie?
So I'm Melanie. I have a big accent. I'm French Canadian. Actually, I've been with Jet Life Aero in the industry for kind of 2 months and a half. Why I got into private aviation, it's really a personal reason. I was dreaming about it with my sister years ago. I was studying in business, and my sister was studying to be a plane pilot, and she crashed an airplane. And years later, I decided to go after the dream with a lot of sales experience, but obviously no aviation experience. And here I am, to close the deal with Kevin, which is good.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Well, and I appreciate when you and I first met, 2-3 months ago, when you share with me the reason of aviation was out of a familial connection, that you and your sister had a connection with aviation as part of honoring a memory. I really appreciate that. A lot's happened over 2.5 months. You've grown a lot. And the only reason I can see that you've grown, not the only reason, but one of the deep reasons has been because I know you have a big why. You have a big reason for succeeding. So it's been a real pleasure, Melanie, like truly watching you grow and just experience, what aviation has to bring.
It's a big adventure. It's fun.
Yeah, exactly. So, Mr. Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little about yourself.
Hey, Tom. Thanks. Appreciate it. My name's Kevin Walsh, outside of the Philadelphia area. And I was actually in the, wrote some notes here to myself. I was in the RV business, and I was really upset one day. Called my wife, and she goes, "It's funny. I just had one of Tom's, one of Chrissy's friends named Tom, and he sells private jets." And one thing led to another. Tom, we talked to you on the phone, and had conversation with you and your wife, with my wife too, and we had a long, extensive conversation that one night. It was great, and one thing led to another, and here I am, and I don't do anything half tilt, so I ended up going full tilt in this thing, starting on April 15th, and quit my RV job on April 13th, and I've been doing this 2 months and 10 days. I actually thought it was 3 months and 10 days, but I just realized 2 months and 10 days. So I'm very grateful for the quick turnaround on a quick deal, and grateful to see what the future holds here.
Yeah, I remember the conversation with you and your wife and my wife. I was at my son's soccer game, and just having that conversation, and it was really cool, and I just really appreciated the ability to be in two places at once. I mean, my son wasn't really playing that game, so I had to be there, but I was still able to talk to you guys. Actually, it was on the ride home. I remember now. It was on the ride home that I was able to talk to you guys. And then not only that, but like also how we were introduced to one another. Like a lot of people just kind of find me on YouTube, but quickly into that conversation, we discovered like we had mutual friends. It's a small Catholic world. And that was really cool. And again, back to the why. I mean, you've got a family to provide for. How many people are you feeding right now?
So there's 10 total, but both the two oldest boys who are also in the business now, they both have girlfriends. So sometimes there's 12. So
I love
it's I don't have to do a little. I have to do a lot. It's no excuse. Foot on the gas pedal at all times.
Oh, I love that. No, it's great. And you remind me a lot of myself when I first got started. Like you could not fail. Like failure's not an option. We're burning the bridges, and you're smiling and dialing. You're leaving a wake of bodies behind you, but we can fix that. But what you've done is you put a deal together. And so many people don't want to make the phone calls. They're afraid to be too aggressive. They're just nervous about it. And I get it. You should. It's a both and, right? And you and I have been working on tempering the enthusiasm a little bit, but the results are there. Like you got your deal done. So before we get into the deal again, let's talk about Kevin. Maybe tell us a little about what I know you were in RV and you were in auto sales. What was it about becoming a broker that kind of spoke to you? I know you didn't spend too much time researching, but what was it about aviation that spoke to you, and why Jet Life Aero as opposed to maybe finding a brokerage near you or just starting and doing it on your own?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, it's funny because back in the day, to give a little backstory, is I was thinking about starting my own business back in the day, and my wife heard in prayer. She said, "Let him fly; he will soar." And here I am in aviation now.
What?
Here I am in aviation now, doing the and I just started an LLC. It's actually I'm going to start it called something to do with SOAR, which is great.
Yeah.
So why Jet Life Aero? I like the structure of Jet Life Aero. I like the training and the know-how, and I want to go with somebody that can mentor me like you, Tom, and show me the ropes and figure it out. It's basically like when you're working for Jet Life Aero, you have your own business, right? Which is great because you're making your own calls. You're doing as much as you want to do and as much as you can do. And there's not, like you said, Tom, when we first started, you're more of a mentor than a boss, right? Or more of a coach than a boss. And so I like that setup and that approach. Just grateful. I was in RVs and cars. Cars was about a 15-year run. RVs was about a 2-year run. And it's just moving up the ladder, right? Cars, RVs, now jets. So here I am, and upward and onward we go.
That's so cool. I didn't realize that your wife got that in prayer. That's really cool. I do remember her saying something that my wife said to me when we had our phone call. That there's greatness in you, right? And the people around you can kind of see it sometimes, and sometimes we forget about that. But when you get the right vehicle, it's a total game changer, and that's what it was for me being a youth minister. Like it was great. It was very fulfilling. Then going into music education as a music school manager was great. It was very fulfilling. But I felt like that was made for more. And even in jet sales, it was great, but it never was like, oh my gosh, like this is the most amazing thing ever. I want to do it for the rest of my life. The coaching and the mentoring piece, like I really feel like fulfilled. Like I feel like there's much more purpose in it for me. And I've really enjoyed, working with you guys. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Did you want to say something else? No, you're good. Okay. Melanie, why don't you share with us, a little bit about Jet Life Aero, what your experience has been, why, because I think you spent a little bit more time, if I remember correctly, looking at different options. So what brought you to Jet Life Aero?
Actually, it's the first contact that we had together that you are a good human. I can say that. And I needed the mentorship. And I didn't want to work for a big agency. I prefer like to have close contact with you and with my colleagues. And I thought that was the best place to learn and to start.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And the one thing I really appreciate about you guys is you understand like how we're growing and we're learning, and I get feedback from you guys on a daily basis, like, hey, Tom, can you do this? Or can we try this? Or, we could do better here. And I appreciate that as well from you guys. So, all right, let's hop into the deal. So you guys, You came into Jet Life Aero. You signed up for the course. Spent 2.5 days with me. We got you how aviation works, how to become proficient as a market person, and then making those calls. And so you picked your markets. And Melanie, we landed on the Bravo market after some other markets, and you're kind of calling through. Tell us a little about that process. Tell us about how you found the owner, found the seller. One of the things we get asked a lot of the time is, where do you find jets to sell? So Melanie, why don't you talk to us a little bit about, I guess maybe first, what it was like when you first started making phone calls? Because I know we were in a different market. What was the experience? How did we transition you to a different market? And then we'll get into the deal itself.
Uh, Scary at the beginning a little bit because when you don't know much, but you want to learn. But
Mm-hmm.
it's making the phone calls and keeping like learning from you and learning from our colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's by talking to people that you learn the most. And
Mm-hmm.
then you gain some confidence, and then it gets kind of easier.
Now, you had done cold calls before, is that correct?
Yes,
And what's the difference
all the
between
time.
making cold call, a lot of them, right? What was the difference between making cold calls for another business and making cold calls in aviation?
I've always been in wholesale. So the people that I was calling, I knew that to some point they needed me.
Right.
And usually like they were not owning the company. They were just a buyer or like a director. So, the main difference is kind of quality price or if they get kind of upset to their current supplier. Now you're dealing with it was building relationship with people too. But now it's really calling someone uh, and make a good impression and be there for what they need to solve a problem that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things we found, especially with the feedback that we were getting from your phone calls, was when we're making the cold calls, we're trying to disqualify people. We're trying to find the people that are ready to sell. They have a problem, and we can help solve it. We don't need to find someone that doesn't want to sell their jet and use all the sales techniques and stuff to overcome objections and manipulate them to want to sell. But instead, we need to find the ones that actually want to have a problem that we can solve.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what was the transition like when I think we went from one market, maybe the Phenom 100s into the Bravos. What did you find when you went, I guess, how did you find the owner for this deal? So obviously we use a database, the database we use is JetNet. So we have some contact information. All of this information, by the way, for those of you who are listening, you can kind of find it on your own. I mean, the researchers, for JetNet, don't have any special powers or anything. They just go to the website, the FAA database. They find who owns the aircraft, and then they just kind of do their due diligence to go find contact information for those people. So you can do that. People can do that on their own. But Melanie, how did you find calling through JetNet? How did you find this owner?
Actually, a few weeks ago, our agency, Jet Life Aero, had a buyer for a Bravo.
Okay.
So I was approaching people as what we had a client wanting a Bravo. And it happened that I spoke to someone that was waiting for a bigger airplane at the end of the week. So they were just ready to sell. And then as we worked together, which is awesome, Kevin found a buyer. It
Mm-hmm.
all started like that.
Gotcha. So one agent, Alex, had a potential buyer for a
Yeah,
Bravo.
exactly.
So that allowed you to speak into the Bravo marketplace, call all the owners and say, hey, listen, I don't know if you're interested or not, but we have a buyer that's looking at Bravos. Are you open to an off-market offer? How many phone calls do you think you made into the Bravo market before you found somebody?
Oh my God. Uh, Actually, it's been quite quick. I would say at least 100.
It did feel quick though. It definitely felt
It was,
quick.
because we make so many phone calls, so it's kind of easy to lose track. But it wasn't long.
Yeah.
It wasn't long.
Okay. And then once you found them, you asked them if they were open to an off-market offer. And at that point, Alex's buyer had kind of moved on to a different market, but Kevin came in with a different buyer. So Kevin, let's bring you back on. And Kevin, tell us a little bit about your buyer. How did you find a buyer? Did he have a plane, or did someone come knocking at your door one day? Like, what was the story there?
So I had a gentleman that I called early on when I first started, and he had let me know, I think pretty early on, that he wanted a Bravo, something with
Did
higher
he own
time.
something else?
What's that?
Did he own something else? Like, how did you call this person?
He actually was an aircraft management
Oh.
company. He owned it, and I called on him, and he. I'm trying to
So
think of how it went.
he was managing an aircraft, and then you guys make contact?
Yes, he was managing the aircraft, and I made contact with him, and he said, "I'm actually looking for a Bravo, not for the client that he was managing, but for a different client."
Okay. So, for people that are kind of trying to understand this, again, we've got the database, and the database not only shows who the owner of the aircraft is and sometimes their contact information, but other individuals related to the aircraft if that information is publicly available. So it could be a pilot, could be a broker if it's listed, could be a management company. And so in this situation, Kevin's calling through a market, and he identifies a plane that he wanted to talk to somebody on, and he called the management company and just striking up conversation, I'm assuming.
Exactly right. Yeah, I just started talking to him, and he said, "Looking for a Bravo with higher time." And I I went through the market through our Notion report there, and found a Bravo that Melanie had in there, and presented two to him. One, and that he was more interested in the second one, the one that he actually ended up buying, and the deal kind of fell in place, and it was,
It
like
was
I said,
crazy.
perfect marriage.
It was a really great first experience for you guys. I mean, Alex will tell you his first deal was not super smooth. My first deal was not smooth. So you guys, it was really cool for you guys to kind of have that experience. So with that, okay, so one thing I would kind of point out to everybody is, with Jet Life Aero, one of the things that Kevin is talking about is we have all of our agents do market reports. And so we use a system called Notion, and it's basically a huge database. And what it allows us to do is when Kevin does a market report, he can identify, his market and what aircraft are off market. That means they're available, they're open to selling. So that if, in this case, Melanie had gone through the Bravo, she did the market report, she identified some off market stuff. So when Kevin had a buyer, Kevin could look at Melanie's Notion list, her database, and see, oh, there's some off market stuff. And so now Kevin and Melanie can collaborate on a deal, and everybody gets paid for Melanie's work finding the jet, and then Kevin's work bringing a buyer to the table. So, Kevin, why don't you tell us a little about the overall deal flow and the process? So you had a buyer, this was a wholesaler, they're a management company and a wholesaler. So explain to us kind of what were the next steps now that you've identified it. They said, hey, I like that. What were the next steps? What did the letter of intent look like? We don't need to do like specific prices or anything, but what was that process like, and how did you navigate that since you've never done it before?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. You'll have to pardon me. I have dad brain. And Tom alluded to it. I have 8 kids, so if my brain doesn't really think too well, it's because I have a lot on my plate, and my brain is on hyper mode all the time. So the deal. I found the buyer. We didn't present it to him. He said that's a good plane. We crafted an APA.
Yep.
Skipped the LOI, just did an APA, and we already agreed the terms before for the price with the seller, and we did the APA. He did we in that it had a pre-buy that they were going to do a borescope to check everything out, and a prism test. They did it. Everything checked out fine. I got involved with getting some money in escrow and all that kind of stuff. And shout out to AIC Title. They did great. Abby did awesome. They did an amazing job, and really were with us the whole way. And just kind of came on, and we got it through title, got it through that. They did a test flight on Monday, was it? It was yesterday, and then after the test flight, they did the acceptance letter, and they closed this morning. And there's a lot of work, right? And I say
This
that with all sincerity. Like I honestly over 60 emails and over probably close to 100. 100 is probably too much of a shot, but probably 80. And people out there, please do not, like, owners, please do not sell your own jet. Like, there's a lot of work. Give it to us. We will take care of it. The money is well worth it, believe me. That's just, and I'm going to share that with every single owner and I just shared it with another gentleman that it's well worth every penny to use us. And we really do a lot of work for you. And we're willing to do the work, believe me. And we actually like doing the work. And,
Mhm.
but it's real. It's real. There's a lot of work, and owners, there's a lot of time on your hands to do what you do best, right? To do your business and make more money for you. What really is a little bit of money that we charge is well worth every penny.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've never done this before. What resources did you use? What resources did the JLA was a JLA able to give you? What did that look like as you're learning on the go?
JLA was great. Tom, you were great during the whole process. I mean, basically, I told Tom you need to hold my hand throughout this whole process, and I think anybody that wants to join the JLA community, like, they're really, and a shout out to it right now. I'm gonna give it right now. Is there's videos, like, I'm not only working right when I first started, but I was watching videos at night, right, and just immersing myself and just all in, right, all in mentality. And if you're all in on this, like I did my first deal, thank God, right, in 2 months and 10 days, like you can get a paycheck within 2 months and 10 days, and it's possible, right? And Tom, you told me 4 to 6 months, 3 months was yours. And I'm like, only of 10. And it's like, oh boy. But if you immerse yourself and go all in, I mean, this sky's the limit, right? The sky's the limit with this thing. And there's a lot of just from all the resources with all the different documents that we have for the APA and the acceptance letter, and how to do escrow. Actually, Alex, shout out to Alex. He helped me with the escrow and who to call and how to set it up and work me through that. And I shared with him. I said, I'm willing. I have 17 years of sales experience. Right? I have a lot of sales experience, and a lot of people poured into me, and I can help with sales, right? But I don't know the operations part of this, and I'm learning the operations part. And Tom, you're great at it. Alex is great at it, and so I can interject my own benefits, my own attributes, my
Mhm.
own assets into the company. And I think it's gonna be great. I have my two boys doing it now. They're one's making calls, and one got his first listing, and it's gonna be a good ride here.
Yeah, that's cool. And I appreciate you sharing about Alex, because yeah, there was about a week where I was out with my family on a camp. And so it's not just Jet Life Aero is not and will never be just Tom. This is not Tom's brokers. This is all of us together. And so Alex stepped in to help out a lot of the agents for that week. I appreciate that. And the other thing I'll call people's attention to is, Kevin also had to get I believe you had to get a tax advisor involved at one point. And so tell us about that, and like how the JLA network, we were able to connect the your clients with someone that could help with the aviation side of it. Because I mean, your client is not a brand new buyer. So I was kind of interested when you brought in KJ.
Yeah, I think it's the whole part about, and you mentioned this, Tom, to me early on, is going above and beyond, right? There was a tax exemption that we got for Tennessee, that they can get a flyaway exemption, that they didn't have to pay tax in Tennessee. They were flying it back to Washington. And KJ, the gentleman who helped me with the CPA, with a tax advisor for aviation, really did a good job. And he also helped with the use tax. And just going above and beyond, right? I didn't need to do any of that. I didn't need to get in the weeds with that, but it really helped the customer a lot. And that's what it's all about, right? At the end of the day, it's really about helping the customer and getting to the finish line. And people will remember that, right? Like our buyer, Tom, they'll remember this when we did all this work for them, and we went way above and beyond in this deal. And they'll refer us, right? They'll give us other people. Yeah, there's KJ right there. Great guy. Good people. Good company too. The people that work for him and work in his office are great too. And there's a lot of there's a lot of assets that we have with JLA that Tom's created over the years, and that we can lean on to help customers and get them past the finish line, right? In a manner that's beneficial for them. Not just the price of the aircraft. That's not what it's about, right? The price of the aircraft acquisition is just part of it, right? There's the accounting part. There's the place to put it. There's the hangar. There's the aircraft management company. There's so many more pieces that we can help with in JLA that is not just, I'm going to help you acquire this aircraft, right? That's right. That's just one little piece of it.
100%. And I call people's attention to, part of our core mission for the clients is to ensure a professional, ethical, and successful transaction. So we just don't want to get deals done. We want it to be as professional as possible, as ethical. I mean, I don't even say as possible, like it should be ethical, period. And successful. We get it across the line. And we do our best towards that. We might not be perfect at it. And there may be times where we don't have a successful transaction. That's where humility comes in, one of our core values. That's where education comes in. I mean, we learn from our mistakes. You win or you learn. And that's kind of part of it. So speaking of learning, Melanie, I'm going to give you the last word. Can you just share with us kind of what are some of your takeaways from this deal? What are the plans moving ahead? What are you looking forward to? We're going into the third and fourth quarter, typically some of the biggest transaction times, the most volume gets done for aviation in the coming months. So why don't you go ahead and share with us just a little bit about what you're looking forward to? What were your big takeaways from this deal?
The takeaway, I have good communication with the client, with your colleagues, with the seller, the buyer. I think it's really important. Then I'm excited. Things are kind of picking up, and people want to sell. For me, I've been working a lot lately on the off market, but it's been pretty interesting, and things are exciting.
Yeah, that was one of the interesting things about this deal. I mean, both of you guys came from, this was an off market deal. This was a plane that you didn't list. We didn't have to do the spec sheets and go to the controller and all this kind of stuff and work through a bunch of buyers. This is one of the cool things about the business when you have an off market deal is they can be, pretty quick. And this is the benefit of working with a broker because they can bring you these deals. And when they come across it's a win-win situation. So, Kevin, Melanie, thank you so much for being here today. I really greatly appreciate it. And we look forward to your continued success in the rest of the year.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good job, Kevin.
Thank you. Good job, Melanie. Thank you, guys. Thanks.